I'm a male teen and my parents' second kid, but the oldest living and the only bio kid in our house. My bio sister died before I was born from SIDS. My parents went on to have me, but mom was left unable to carry more children due to the risk it would pose. They wanted more kids badly, my mom especially, so when I was 7, they started fostering kids and later adopted some of them. In total, I now have 5 siblings under the age of 10, and my siblings are my parents' priority in everything. They show up for their school plays, their talent shows, their extracurriculars, while they miss everything important for me. And my dad even said, the free curricular I attend doesn't really do major games anyway, so what's the big deal? And it's their fault I do the free ones because the money was spent on my siblings doing extracurriculars. I don't get to go on school field trips anymore because my parents can't always afford for all of us to go, and I'm the one forced to sacrifice for them. I also had to sacrifice 3 birthdays as well, where I got no gift or no party because my parents needed to pay for stuff for my siblings. 3 months ago, I broke. Not sure what put me over the edge, but I sat my parents down and told them exactly how I felt. I told them I felt like I was no longer a priority for them and hadn't been in years. I told them I hated them sometimes for it and that there were times I've wished we could go back to them not adopting kids. I told them I felt like I got shafted by them, adding to the family, and that having siblings didn't make up for everything else. That there are times that I feel like my siblings made my life so much worse, and that it's not my siblings' fault, it's theirs, my parents. I told them it hurt being the only one whose birthday it was okay to skip. But the second I got a job and started buying stuff for myself, they complained when I wouldn't get stuff for my siblings to share with them. When they buy them treats often and get me nothing. My parents were open to what I said. They promised me it would not happen again, and they promised me that I could go on my school's international trip this year. It's some pretty significant money, $5,000, but I can pay some toward it. They told me they'd cover it and even set money aside. Now my parents have been asked to adopt the bio sister of my brother. My parents told me about it and that they want to do this, but it means no trip for me because the money will be needed. They said it's important to keep the siblings together, and surely I can let them make it up to me another time. I told them no, because they won't have the time or the money to make it up to me. I told them I know I'm not their priority if they do this, and they won't have my support, and I will check out and start planning a life without them. They were upset. My grandparents were angry, and now my parents have said I was unfair to them and my brother and his bio sister. Am I the idiot? Honey, as weird as this may sound after what you've gone through, your parents' behavior isn't tied to who you are as a person. You could have been a genius who graduated med school by 12, or an artistic prodigy that made the whole world weep upon seeing what you created, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Something inside your parents is broken, not you. Your parents need to mourn their ability and expectation of having numerous bio children. They needed to heal in a healthy way before looking into other options. Instead of looking inwards to do that work, they looked outwards. Fostering an adoption was a way for them to put a Band-Aid on feelings. When you can, please look into therapy. I wish I could give you a motherly hug and tell you that you deserve just as much love as any other child. This is an excellent point. They were so busy trying to make up for your siblings being adopted that they actively took things away from you. In essence, they punish you for being their biological child. Somehow, in their eyes, you're not equally deserving of their time. They're damaged people, and their savior complex has manifested as neglecting you because you don't need to be saved. They don't get the ego boost from rescuing you. My grandparents are angry. So does that mean that they're willing to pay for the adoption so your parents can give you the money for the trip? No? You are not the idiot. Go on your trip and save your money for when you can escape to go to college. Then go no contact with your neglectful parents. My cousin is in his late 20s. He was diagnosed with mild Asperger's syndrome some years ago. He's used that as an excuse to behave in a horrible manner ever since. And quite frankly, his parents have enabled him. He recently managed to push away his only remaining friends and then decided to turn his negative attention on our family. Highlights include calling the police and making a false report against my uncle and my nan, harassing my mom for days on end, and laughing at her when she begged him to stop because her hypertension, as a result, landed her in the hospital, wishing my father dead from a condition he's struggling with, etc. I blocked him preemptively because I could see where this was heading. So, after he realized he was blocked, he called my firm and told them that I was leaking privileged information and breaking client confidentiality. Now, he had no proof, but because of the nature of our work, the partner had to investigate even the possibility. Obviously, that led to consequences at work for me, and while I've been cleared, it was hard, and I missed the promotion window. My husband and I are furious, and he drafted a cease and desist notice for me, and a notice that I would sue for defamation of character. I signed it and sent it to my cousin. Now his parents are saying I'm punishing the mentally unwell, and he didn't know what he was doing, nor does he have the money to pay for the suit. I'm not inclined to listen to them, but even my parents think I should have left it alone. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. His mental health isn't the issue. It's his enabling parents. Your cousin is purposely harassing you and your family, which comes with legal consequences, civil or otherwise. Have you considered including the parents in the suit? OP, you need to sue. He also needs adult protective services or someone to investigate. Mild Asperger? I'm sorry, but that's not the actions of a neurodivergent person with only mild traits. I, 39 female, have coexisting ASD, autism spectrum disorder, and ADHD. Asperger's is no longer a standalone diagnosis. It's all part of ASD. I do not act like that, and neither do my neurodivergent children. Either his parents have lied about the extent of his diagnosis, or he needs to be reassessed. Whatever your cousin's motivations are, they're not linked to mild ASD. I think the parents misunderstood the diagnosis. They were saying, our son is a massive idiot, not our son has mild Asperger. Didn't know what he was doing? It sure sounded like he did. That was a very specific thing to accuse someone of to get them in trouble. The man did research and filed a complaint that was very well thought out. This isn't Asperger's syndrome. You're the only one doing anything about it. Keep going. I, 47 female, have a stepdaughter, teen, from my husband's, 49, previous marriage. My stepdaughter's half white American and half Mexican American. Her dad is white and her mom is Mexican. I've known my stepdaughter since she was a toddler. Something to know about her is that she's very introverted and shy. She doesn't like massive crowds or loud music, and especially hates big parties. My stepdaughter's mom began to plan a quinceañera for her a few months back. I've always had a great relationship with my stepdaughter's mom, so when she asked me to pitch in and help wherever I could, I agreed. I found it surprising stepdaughter agreed to have a quinceañera. When I asked her about it, she told me she never agreed to one. She told her mom she didn't want one, but her mom is going through with it anyway. She asked her dad and me to talk to her mom on her behalf to change her mind. We did, but mom didn't budge. That was a few months ago. As the date of the quinceañera neared, stepdaughter came to me and asked if I would help her avoid the party. I agreed because I could tell she didn't want this party. I asked her what she wanted to do instead. My stepdaughter is a very big nature person. She also likes hiking a lot. So we agreed I'd take her on a hiking trip instead of the party. We didn't tell her mom. My stepdaughter just wasn't showing up. We told her multiple times. Stepdaughter never wanted a party, but she decided to have one anyway. My husband told us he would go to the quinceañera to help handle things when people figured out his stepdaughter wasn't coming. Today I was supposed to take my stepdaughter to the quinceañera. Instead, I took her on the hiking trip she wanted. And after that, I took her to a friend's house so she could cut a cake to celebrate her birthday with them. It was a great day. Of course, the stepdaughter's mom was not happy when she found out she planned a party with hundreds of guests, only to have the party's main focus not show up. She kept calling us throughout the day, but we ignored the calls. My husband tried to keep her calm, but of course she was angry. I knew it was going to be a crap show when she confronted me, but I was willing to face that. Later today at home, she came to confront me and my stepdaughter. She was furious. She was yelling at me, my stepdaughter, and my husband. After she finished her rant, I told her to get the screw off my property and that this was the lesson to pay attention to what her daughter wanted. My stepdaughter politely asked her mom to leave. She got into her car and left with tears in her eyes. Everyone's the idiot here, except your stepdaughter. Obviously, your stepdaughter's mother is the idiot for ignoring her stepdaughter's wishes when it was her birthday. The problem here is you should have communicated to your stepdaughter's mom that there was just no way the stepdaughter was going to a party she was unhappy with. Instead, you just took off without the main guest, without warning. Stepdaughter's mom may not win Mother of the Year anytime soon, but she at least deserves to know where her daughter is. Not to mention, she spent all that time, effort, and money to prepare for a party that's very important to their culture. I disagree. Mother was told numerous times, so all the time and money spent was on her. The father was there, and he knew of the plan, so he would have been able to explain it all to the mother where the stepdaughter was. You are not the idiot. Good parenting by you and your husband here. Mom wanted the party, not for the stepdaughter's sake, but for her own, and it was her own self-absorbed moment that got ruined, whereas the actual birthday girl had a great time. I think this counts as play stupid games, win stupid prizes. When you don't listen, you can't blame people for not warning you. So we have 2 new foster placements, Jess, tween female, and Alice, teen female. We also have a biological daughter, Valerie, a young teen. We live in a 3-bedroom house, and at this time, it's not possible to add more room. We do plan on moving eventually, but that's not something that'll happen for a year minimum. Originally, we were only receiving single placements, but we got our first sibling group. In our county, siblings can share a room, bio and foster. The only condition is non-bio siblings of the opposite gender can't share a room, which isn't an issue here. We try to do what we can to make the siblings comfortable, but recently, Alice said at their home she has her own room and she hates sharing. We've tried to divide it with curtains, privacy panels, etc. We've let Alice get a lot of personalized stuff for her room, but it's a struggle. She's requested her own room. The other issue is Valerie set a boundary when we started fostering 2 years ago that she wouldn't share her room. We agreed as it seemed reasonable. She's always great with the other kids in our home, but she also deserves her own space to decompress. She went from being an only child to having other children in the home. We also make sure we get a lot of one-on-one time with her and still do stuff as a family. She knows she can talk to us about anything. We did ask her about Jess sharing her room, and obviously she said no. We explained this to Alice, and she's now upset, saying it's unfair. We feel conflicted. Our social worker backs us up, but some people in our personal life say we're in the wrong. Other relevant info: we have yet to determine exactly how long the girls will be with us, but the current plan is 10 months minimum, with the likelihood it could be longer. So it's not as if the girls will only share a room for a few weeks. Edit: per guidelines, the children must live in a room with permanent walls, a door that closes, have their own dressers, etc. That would not be possible in the living room, so no one could sleep there. I also cannot give up my room, as it's stated that all living in the house must have rooms. The room is also big enough for 2. It's the house's master and fits all their stuff, leaving enough room for them to feel separate. Not the idiot. Why would Alice be more entitled to her own room than Valerie? That's Valerie's home. Like it or not, foster kids may not stay with you long. It's important to make them feel at home and as part of the family, but that can't be at the expense of your children. It also shows that you'll keep the promises you made to your daughter. It's Alice's home too. Since the family chose to house her and gets paid for it, I totally understand where she's coming from. She just wants some normalcy, and a mid-teen sharing a room with a twin sibling would be incredibly difficult. A 5-year difference at that age is enormous. This doesn't sound like an ideal placement for these girls, personally. Do everything you can to make this easier on them. LMAO, you really think people who are actually fostering correctly and not neglecting their foster kids, which it seems like OP and her family does, actually make money off of fostering? The stipend people get is often barely enough to cover the child's needs, and families often eat the cost of other living expenses out of the kindness of their own hearts. No idiots here. Unfortunately, this is a no-win situation. You absolutely cannot renege on your agreement with Valerie. You will shatter her trust in you, and that'll cause huge problems down the road. My wife's mother did foster when she was 12, and she's still traumatized by how she got treated. Alice isn't an idiot for wanting her own room, but it's just not possible. The world gave her a rough hand, and she's going to have to learn to deal. I'm glad you're doing what you can to give them private spaces, but sharing a room isn't the end of the world. I survived sharing with 3 siblings. My daughter, 25, is getting married to her fiancé soon. However, none of us, her family, is invited to the wedding. It will be a large wedding, so I'm surprised we're not invited. I wasn't surprised when she didn't invite her siblings because their relationship was practically non-existent. However, she didn't invite either me or my husband. Her rule is that she wants my husband, her father, to walk her down the aisle, and then he leaves. When we asked why, it's because her fiancé didn't like us, and she didn't want to make him uncomfortable. She made it clear she wanted us there, not her fiancé. I genuinely don't know why her fiancé doesn't like us. I'd be willing to figure out why, if he'd like to talk. My daughter's been with him for 4 years, and yet we've only seen him a handful of times. When we do see him, he doesn't talk to us. We initiate conversations, but he either doesn't respond or changes his answer every visit. When we ask him how he and my daughter met, the answer's different. Ask him about himself, and the answer always changes. It's not like he changed his thoughts on something after we saw him, because he denies answering something different. When we asked our daughter about this, she just said, it's how we act around people he doesn't know. When my daughter told me the rule of us not getting invited and her father could only walk her down, I told her it was ridiculous and unfair to either me or her father. I asked her about the future and how he's going to act when they have kids. My husband told me it wasn't necessary to say, and maybe it wasn't, so am I the idiot? Edit. Her fiancé's side was going to pay for the entire thing from the start. My husband asked if we could talk it out, but she's yet to respond. Not the idiot. Honestly, your husband should not walk her down the aisle if he isn't invited to stay. That is very controlling behavior. Tell your daughter you'll be there for her if he becomes abusive. Don't cut that helpline off, but you'll have to pull back emotionally. She's made her choice, and you aren't going to talk her out of this, sadly. If you can, sit her down and explain the situation. Warn her. She's marrying a very controlling man, probably emotionally or mentally abusive. If not now, it'll start after the wedding. I feel very sorry for her future. I couldn't agree with you more about him being abusive. He clearly has her exactly where he wants her, even now, since she wants her parents there, yet he's getting his way on something odd. I wonder what reason he'll give when people ask where the bride's family is. As well, he'll probably lie. It would be interesting to see how he would explain away Dad walking her down the aisle and leaving as well. It really feels like removing all potential support structures from her life, so she'll be trapped. Something about this seems off. There has to be more to this story. What is being left out? Maybe the daughters told her fiancé about her toxic childhood, upbringing, and relationship with her family. I'm getting unreliable narrator vibes. Honestly, I think the parents are hearing what they want to hear and ignoring what they don't want to hear. I really get the vibe that the daughter has told them exactly what's up, and they just don't understand, so that can't be right.